Hello and welcome to SBK Edge Rush Extra. We never forget the extra on this show. And you know what else, Tom Collins? I never forget to give you props when they are due. Another fantastic week for you, big man.
Yeah, it's going well. Since I started inputting my Drew Lock of the Week on SBK Edge Rush on the Nat Coombs show, check that out if you haven't already. We're 3-0 Nat. We're rolling. It's just quite nice to have a 100% record in something. I know it's not going to last forever, but hopefully it continues this week as well.
I hope so too, because the look on Ollie's face every time your Drew Lock of the Week drops and locks over on SBK Edge Rush is a thing of beauty. But you're right, not everything can last forever. Unbeaten runs tend to come to an end at some point, and the Philadelphia Eagles found that out, of course, last week. Their first defeat of the season, a real upset, I think it was fair to say as well, to Washington. I mean, the NFC East, let's start there, Tom, because it's something I got into on the Nat Coombs show this week with the great Shane Vereen, Super Bowl winning Shane Vereen. We were looking at both East, the AFC and the NFC, and all 8 teams are in playoff contention. Extraordinary stuff. We could have 4 playoff teams from the NFC East.
Yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Obviously, the Eagles dominating were 8-0 pre that loss. Lovely link, by the way, from you. I have to say there, going into the unbeaten record for the Eagles.
Mate.
Perfect. The Giants as well. They've been over performing this year. Brian Daboll's doing a great job. The Cowboys look solid, albeit they lost to us last week. And yeah, this Commanders defense seems to be coming alive in the NFC East. I have to say, in that game against Philadelphia, they had 40 minutes with the ball. Philly had 20. Time of possession was a huge thing. Washington converted 12 of 21 first downs. That kind of won them the game. They kept Jalen Hurts off the field, and that's what you have to do to beat Philly. Whether Philly bounce back, we'll soon find out.
Yeah, that the manner of that win, you're spot on with that, has forced Philly to make moves with injuries, of course, adding to why defensively they were having so many problems in that respect. So the great Ndamukong Suh, a free agent up until about 24 hours ago, 3-time All-Pro, one of the greats to play the game, now a Philadelphia Eagle, shoring up particularly a run D that has struggled. 28th in success versus the run this season. So Suh is not going to be an every down player, of course, at his stage of proceedings, but a nice cameo spot to roll in and just add a bit of grit and strength in the middle there.
Yeah, well, I'm not a huge fan of Suh from a Packers perspective because obviously he caused carnage for the Lions for years. I think it's a great addition for the team, though. If you're an Eagles fan, it's what you want to see. Stiffening up that run D. It's where you're weak on the defense. Doug Peterson knows what he needs, knows those players he needs, and Suh is perfect for the role. So, yeah, look, the rich just get richer. They're hoping to bounce right back after a loss last week, and maybe they do it against the Colts.
I love that pickup. I think it's genius. It has, although the different kinds of players, just has shades of Von Miller go to the Rams last year, and indeed Von Miller, the Bills this year. It's the kind of piece coming in. Of course, I guess Suh, of course, most recently had success with the Bucs, so he knows how to win the big show. I wrote this week, and I know, of course, you read everything I read. I write rather prolifically, don't you, Tom? So you'll be fully aware of this, but listeners and viewers maybe haven't seen my column for the Times of London this week, about the great Jeff Saturday. Now, I was being a little bit mischievous with the column, but throwing out the theory here in light of the fact that everybody, and I didn't see a single person, media fan, whoever, vindicating the decision to make Jeff Saturday the Colts head coach. It was nepotism. It was possibly the Colts trying to tank. They were laughed out of Dodge. However, Jeff Saturday might be having the last laugh. Gets the Colts up and running. A first game as the head coach of Indianapolis, win for him. So he's 1-0. He's also unbeaten at 100%. But in all seriousness, it got me thinking about the model of how NFL teams are built. So the book on Saturday he's got no coaching, coordinating, assisting experience at all in the NFL. Hell of a player. He's been an ESPN analyst for a number of years. So he follows the game closely. And I think that's key because we've seen college guys come in who are much more experienced coordinators and much more experienced X's and O's guys in practical terms, but they're maybe not as close to the NFL personnel as those who have been studying the game in the capacity he has. The point of the piece was this: look, he's not going to suddenly become an incredible strategic coach overnight, but maybe he doesn't need to be. And maybe going forwards, NFL teams don't need their head coach who has to take on all kinds of responsibilities, dealing with the media, dealing with the GM, dealing with the owner, dealing with all these extra responsibilities. He's a front man. He's a hype man. He needs to encourage, build his team, communicate a clear vision, almost like a presidential role, and then let his coordinators, lieutenants, do the heavy lifting with the strategy. That's my theory. What do you think?
No, I like it. Morale and confidence is such a crucial thing in any sport, but especially American football. If you're posting loss after loss, it really gets the team down, all departments, defense, offense, special teams, everything, other coaches as well. Jeff Saturday came in and boosted that morale. And they showed it last week because the
Yeah.
Colts looked rejuvenated. Look, no one, as you say, no one expected them to win last week or even win a fair few games since Jeff Saturday has been appointed. But he's providing the touch that the Colts needed, seemingly after just one game. Small sample size, but still.
Yeah.
This will be the proper test. I mean,
Mm.
Eagles are 7 points favourites. They're travelling to Indianapolis, so the Colts are at home. Will Jeff Saturday bounce back and be that guy and be the one that's like, yeah, you know what? The Colts, you're coming to the Colts. This team will not be beaten at home. We've got Jonathan Taylor back. We've got a new found confidence. We're a team that has a chance, an outside chance of making the playoffs or doing
Yeah,
a push
for
late
sure.
season. Maybe they do it.
I think that's a great point that it's being underestimated. The Colts absolutely are still in the playoff mix here. He reinstills Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan should never have been benched in the first place. Matt Ryan's so excited and enthused about that he breaks off the greatest run of his career. And it's fair to say, not known as a dual threat. I think it's fair to say. I mean, it's an all new Matt Ryan. Maybe we're going to see some single wing from the Colts. I wonder whether this is an Eagles spot where they are going to be bruised and battered with that losing record, or rather winning record going, with the defeat to Washington, and they come out swinging, and we have overplayed the Colts' victory over a pretty hapless Raiders side. Or actually, we're onto something. This Colts side was better than advertised, and what they genuinely needed was a bit of reboot, a bit of self-belief. And I guess in the long term, being a rah-rah guy, it always runs out of steam. But in the short term, Saturday could get them rolling again. Have you got any particular angle on this? Are you going to take any action on it?
Yeah, for sure. So I think the line of 7 points with the Eagles being favourite is very dangerous. I
Key
think,
line.
as you say, there are two different options that happen here. Maybe the Colts bounce back, or maybe the Eagles just show their superiority. So I prefer the over/under line, which is set to 44. Now everything looks like this is going to hit the unders because the Eagles have given up just 18 points per game this season. The Colts have given up 20 points per game this season. Add them together, 38 points, two quality defenses, two offenses that do rely on the run sometimes as well, albeit less for the Eagles. Jonathan Taylor's back. But you know what? I'm going against the trend. I'm taking the over here now. I think we're going for more than 44 points because I just think the Colts are going to put up 20 plus. I mean, you've got Matt Ryan back, as you've touched on, which is crucial. Jonathan Taylor can just run the rock no matter who he's against. I think they're scoring touchdowns, the Colts. And the Eagles, we know their weapons. We've seen them in 9 games this year. AJ Brown will get firing again. Devontae Smith is super talented. And although they're without Dallas Goedert, they still have far too many powerful offensive weapons to not put up points. So yeah, the over 44 for me.
I like it. I like the look of that one. All right. Next up, Cowboys-Vikings. Fascinating game because the Cowboys are on the road heading to Mini. Mini, of course, 8-1 now with a huge win last week in one of the games of the season. And yet the Cowboys are going into Minnesota as favorites. Explain that. What is Vegas looking at here?
That is the main talking point here, isn't it? I mean, everyone would have expected the Vikings to be favourite because they beat the Buffalo Bills. I mean, they've gone to Buffalo and beat the Buffalo Bills. They have the best wide receiver, in my opinion, and many others in the game in Justin Jefferson. He is an injury out. He has a toe injury. Maybe that's the line.
Yeah, I wonder. You know, it's the whole Cousins Jefferson thing. The Cousins is someone we talk about a lot, probably too much. And every time, of course, we shout out Kirk Cousins, Mike McCartney, his agent. It is a contractual obligation that we shout him out because he's the greatest agent in the history of sports entertainment. But Cousins gets a tough rep, and we've talked about it a lot, haven't we? Even after leading his team to victory against Buffalo, it's all about Jefferson. It's all about luck. The Josh Allen misfired sneak. And of course, immediately before that, of course, one of the worst sneaks, I think someone described as the worst sneak they've ever seen in history, attempt from Cousins. And he had some, the hapless Cousins reared his head, like crazy misfired passes that you think, what on earth is he looking? Why is he attempting that? So there are head scratching moments, but I think his performance has been underestimated against Buffalo. Jefferson was lights out good. And incidentally, you're spot on. I think he is the best receiver in the game right now. The numbers back it up as well. 76% he is catching of balls, air yards, 15 or more. So basically deeper threats, mid and deeper threats to him. He is the most reliable in the business to pull off those big explosive plays. He is that guy in the NFL right now, that different kind of player, but that Megatron kind of X factor. So of course, it's a little bit like, I think, Tom, I don't know if you agree with this, when you are a coordinator or a quarterback's coach working with Rodgers or Mahomes. Yeah, sure. But they're great. That's why. And actually, a lot of the time it is very much a tag team. I think a lot of the balls that Cousins threw in that game were bang on the money and bang on point. And I think his performance in that game in this season is being underestimated.
Yeah, I think so. He's performed badly once. They lost that game, and everyone obviously hyped how bad he was. It was prime time. I was one of them. But since then, he's been very consistent. Yes, he does have great talent. I mean, Justin Jefferson, that catch, the one where he went up here and just took it off the secondary player. I mean, he's just unbelievable. But still, you have to throw him the ball and give him a chance. And Kirk Cousins did that. It was good decision making because what was it, 4th and 18? I mean, you go to your best guy, no matter if they're double covered or what, because he's the guy that's going to come down with it, and he did. I think Cousins is playing well. This is just an interesting game because people are still doubting the Vikings. They have an 8-1 record. They've got the joint best record in the NFL, but the Cowboys are 1.5 point favorites on the spread. The over-under line set to 43.5, so people aren't necessarily even expecting points in this game. As I say, I think Justin Jefferson, if he plays, that's the crucial element. I think he's probably going to play. I'll be surprised if he doesn't, but he does have a toe injury. And obviously, I've mentioned before that I used to play, obviously nowhere near the same level as these guys.
Similar to Jefferson, I've heard. Similar kind of play.
Well, I do always go up there for the catches, but
sure, you're the go-to guy. I've heard. That's what I will go to you if it's 4th and 13. I need a big receiver to make a play. It's Tom Collins every time.
Hey, I'm the old Christian Watson. I'm that guy that goes deep and drops.
Right.
But look, if you have a foot or an ankle or a toe injury, it does really affect how you play as a receiver. And if you're playing in England or NFL Europe sometimes and you've got an injury, maybe losing a step doesn't hurt you that much. But in the NFL, you cannot afford to lose a step. And a toe injury would make a guy like Justin Jefferson not be as effective. So it is definitely a crucial element to this game. If I'm playing, then I'll be taking the Cowboys because I think they're slightly underestimated as well. And albeit they are a short price because they are, favourites, and we don't really expect them to be favourites going to Minnesota. I think they played all right against us, the Packers, last week. I know we beat them, but they played perfectly fine. Just the run game worked for us, and Christian Watson came up trump. So maybe the Cowboys bounce back in now.
Yeah, it's a lot of sharps seem to be on the Cowboys. The one thing I noticed with Dallas, if we're talking about the flaws within the Philly defense, Dallas, 40 plays of 10 or more rushing yards this season, 40. So Dalvin Cook, who looked good last week, looked like he was back to his best. Dalvin Cook, I think, could be a key player, particularly if Jefferson is banged up and even if he goes, but is maybe not targeted as much as normal, or the Cowboys managed to keep him out of the game, double covering him, and the Vikings and they have to rely on the run, you'd think, to set the play action. That's how Cousins likes to roll. Dalvin Cook could be a key player here. A lot of sharps on the Cowboys. I kind of have a sneaky feeling the Vikings are going to upset the odds here. Chiefs Chargers, crucial game in the AFC West because the Chargers just about scrapping for survival. We started the show by talking about the AFC East and the NFC East and probably how they're two of the most competitive divisions in football. We figured the AFC West was going to be that this season. Dead rubber game this weekend, incidentally, as the Broncos take on the Raiders. I mean, boy, talk about one of the most lackluster lo-fi games, I think, in the season so far. But conversely, the Chiefs obviously balling right now, and the Chargers very much in contention, but they need a win, you would think, against their divisional rivals, have any hope of catching them to take the division and also to keep their playoff spot chances rolling. The AFC so competitive, of course, in terms of the wild card spots. No Joey Bosa either for the Chargers, which of course is going to be a massive loss. There's talk that Juju Smith-Schuster might be missing on the other side of the ball for the Chiefs. He's in concussion protocol. So Chiefs on the road against the Chargers. We often see the Chiefs as favorites not covering the spread. What's the line saying here?
Yeah, they're 6-point favorites to beat the Chargers on the road in prime time. I really hope this is going to be a shootout. This could be a primetime banger in the NFL. We've seen a few games that have been a bit, drab at primetime. We've seen some good games as well. But I really hope this is going to be a real good game. The over-under line is set to 51. Oof. I want to see that hit the over. I'm not going to be betting it, but I want to see it as a neutral.
Why are you not betting it? Is it that number in particular? 51's a tricky one.
It's a tricky number, but also the wide receivers on both sides. As you've already touched on, Juju's likely to be missing. That concussion last week looked pretty rough. And also the wide receivers, as we've touched on, I think it was last week as well on this show, maybe the week before, but that Chargers wide receiver room is proper banged up. Now, Mike Williams and Keenan Allen have practiced this week, which is great news for Justin Herbert. I reckon these are the two best pocket passing QBs right now in the NFL, in Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert. They both need weapons. The Chiefs got their weapon in Kadarius Toney. What a pickup, by the way. That guy
Love
is
that.
showing serious talent early on for the Chiefs. He showed it for the Giants as well. I don't know why they let him go. But also, there's the most underrated guy, I reckon, in this game. And I'm going to put out there now, I want to be that guy that mentions someone that isn't always talked about, and that is Isaiah Pacheco.
Love this.
I love this guy, Nat. This guy is just crazy. He's small in stature. He looks small in build as well, but he is not, obviously. Just against the big guys, he looks small in build. He
Tell me about it.
runs with so much power. So much power. He will never fall backwards. He's that guy that will always gain you the extra 2 or 3 yards. And he has Kadarius Toney kind of speed as well. So let's make this game about Isaiah Pacheco. I want to see him running into the end zone a couple of times and win this game for the Chiefs.
I'm with you 100% on that. I think he is a player that is coming into the fore at exactly the right time, because this has been a problem for the Chiefs for a long time. Not just that they haven't, and they hoped Clyde Edwards-Helaire would be the guy. Not just they haven't been able to establish a top tier ground game, but it's also the style of runners that they've had. He gives them, he's perfect for an Andy Reid offense. He's perfect for the artist that Andy Reid is, to the ways that they can use him. He's such an electrifying player. I'm really, really excited about what he does in the second half of the season and beyond. And indeed, I completely sympathize with what you said, because as listeners and viewers may know, outside of NFL, I do a lot of basketball, and some of the live basketball I do with ex-players who are 6'10" and higher. I look like a little guy, and I'm like, I'm 6 foot, people. I'm 6 foot, even though it makes me look like I'm 15 years old. Right. Are you taking any action on the Chiefs charges?
I'm not, and I'll tell you why, because I think the line at 6 points is very questionable. If I had to sway one side or the other, it would be taking the Chiefs -6, but it's a 51-49 for me. As I say, I think the over is again a bit of a talking point, because the number's a bit dodgy, and also the wide receiver room for both teams. Mecole Hardman's actually also been put on IR, I think, for the Chiefs. So there's another person that's out from that, the wide receiver corps for Kansas City. So no action from a betting perspective, but I'm really looking forward to the game as a neutral.
But you and me both. Buyer beware with the Chiefs covering the spread, of course. So I think that's probably a wise play. Out of these 3 games, your favorite pick?
I'll tell you what, my favourite pick is the overs in the Eagles-Colts, because everyone's saying the unders, and I want to be that guy that opposes it, and I want the overs. Over 44, I think, is a really good bet to start off Sunday at 6 p.m.
Love that. I'm with you on that one. Our Drew Locks of the week over on SBK Edge Rush. I'll throw out mine here, which is the Patriots taking on Zach Wilson. Of course, they stitched him up a couple of weeks back. That is very much Belichick's MO. Off a bye week as well. In that game, there were 3 picks. A lot of junk time yardage and junk time action from the Jets to make that close last time. Even though it's 3 points, it's always a difficult line. It was 3 at the time of recording this. I like the Patriots in Gillette to take care of business there. Your Drew Lock of the week is over on SBK Edge Rush. Should we send people there, or are you going to give them a little sprinkler? Maybe give them a clue, Tom.
Oh, the clue. It's a game where the first matchup in week 1 ended with a result that many didn't expect. I don't think it's going to be a surprise result this week. I think the team that lost in week 1 will bounce right back. But go check it out on SBK Edge Rush.
Love that. That's over on the Nat Coombs Show podcast feed. Incidentally, before we get out of here, any new SBK customers, bet £10, get £30 in free bets. What's not to love about that? But if you are doing that, of course, you have to be 18 plus and you have to gamble responsibly. Don't take my word for it. That is how we roll around here. Tom Collins, look after yourself. Let's keep this streak going.
Yeah, let's keep it going. Enjoy the games on Sunday, Nat.
You too, man.